Justin, you take over as Tateno tonight.
Tateno said.
Wait, hold on. We've seen this already. Justin.
If I hadn't fired back then, maybe Konoe would still be alive. Your friend's entire life was changed because of you. Why hadn't you tried to talk the culprit down? I knew the reason why. Because I love Konoe. I still love her, even after she became Daisuke's wife. His desire to be one who saved her had warped my sense of judgment when things had come down to the wire.
Jules, go for it.
Tateno, do you not enjoy being with me?
There was a forlorn look in Konoe's face. It wasn't that I didn't enjoy being with her. Her very presence soothed me. But the more serious their relationship had grown, the more it tore at my heart. Truth was that I didn't really know what happiness was, and so I was incapable of making someone else happy. If it were possible, I'd hope Konoe to be smiling always. And that meant being with someone other than him, than me. I think it would be best if we stopped seeing each other. I blurted out the words bluntly, and Konoe's face fell. I hadn't broken up with her because of any lack of feeling for her. Rather, the impulse had actually sprung out of my pursuit of human warmth and my growing fear of losing it. I'd just been so uneasy. More than anything, I'd been afraid that I wanted too much love and affection from Konoe. Bit by bit, I lowered my gun, my hand ever more unsteady. My heart was on the cusp of breaking. Still, Kanan continued with her diabolic whispering.
You can go ahead and kill me. But if it turns out I'm not Alphard, what then?
Now she stared at me with an almost pitiable look.
You'll have once more done something you can never undo.
Something I can never undo? I repeated the words dully, feeling myself forced into a trance.
That's right. Could you ever accept that?
No, I couldn't. I couldn't make the same mistake again. My whole body felt like it might fall apart. I wanted to drop to the ground and curl up like a ball, like a child.
And that's why you can't shoot anyone.
Shoot anyone. As I muttered those words, Konoe's face appeared in black in the back of my mind.
I can't!
Tears fell from Konoe's eyes as he looked down the barrel of his gun at me. I'd become a detective who didn't lose sight of what was he supposed to protect, no matter the situation. I had nearly forgotten. Nearly abandoned my inward promise to be a detective worthy of that final salute Konoe had given me. I brought my gun back up to bear.
Don't be absurd.
Kanan mocked.
You can't shoot anyone.
Actually, I can. The words creaked dryly from my throat. When there's something I'm supposed to protect, I can shoot. The memory of Konoe's weeping, but taking aim had given me the resolve I needed to face down an opponent who ought to have terrified me. I learned that from someone who was terrible at his job. Kanan's eyes went cold. Immediately, she lifted up her gun again. One more. Our eyes locked, sparks of hostility crackling between us. But almost immediately, I could sense a difference in skill between my opponent and myself. The young woman radiated with deadly aura. The force of her stare was like a knife pressed against my throat. She had borne witness to carnage and bloodshed the likes of which I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't win this. She would kill me, guaranteed. I braced myself for death, never taking my eyes off Kanan's. If nothing else, I needed to buy time for Konoe to get the password. But could he do that? Could I do that, given the opponent I face? Yes. Somehow, I would do it. As a detective. As a man. Even if I had to give my own life to succeed. Even if it couldn't come close to make me up for the sins I had committed.
captured my younger brother. It was with a smile on his face. The realization gave me pause. In the end, killing Alphard wouldn't bring my brother back. That wasn't what I was saying. Although I could see, now, their revenge was an absurd goal. My heart still churned, deep and dark with resentment. Finally, the Akoshi Pharmaceutical Laboratory came into view. There were two people standing outside the front gate. That's Tateno, and a girl who was pretending to be Konoe. Each had a gun drawn on the other. Somehow, I made it in time. I pulled my car up alongside them. I reached down to the gun sleeve concealed beside my seat. I pulled out a .44 caliber Desert Eagle, one of the most powerful semi-automatic handguns in the world. My orders were to apprehend Alphard. A smaller Glock on my shoulder holster might be better suited to that end. Even so, I opted for a Desert Eagle. Getting out of the car, I started pacing toward the younger woman.
Stanley.
Tateno glanced over at me, his face pale. I gave a silent nod in reply. I could see the hint of a smile on the girl's face. Probably a smile of confidence. Well, her brazenness would get her no further. I got in touch with the others, I said. Told them to turn off Hitomi Osawa's cell phone. I could see her eyes react. I imagined that, by now, you've also managed to deal with the bomb you planted on your decoy. The young woman remained silent. And, of course, they've managed to bypass the lock inside the lab. You know what this means? Your little plan has failed. Completely. I could see the girl's stare sharp. I chased Alphard all around the world, only to arrive here, at last, in this little island nation. It had been a long, long journey. And now I had spent a long time suffering. Now, both the journey and the suffering would be over. We meet at last, Alphard.
Jules, go for it.
So. She felt a hand firmly clutching her own as she hastily returned to consciousness.
Keep going.
This hand. Whose is it? My father's?
Oh.
Maria's eyelids slowly drifted open.
Should I be doing this?
Yeah, you should be doing this.
Okay.
Panda.
Wait,
My
this is
eyelids
the
slowly
song?
drifted open.
Is this Sala or
Yeah, this is a Sora, I think.
Maria? You're all right now.
My father was indeed beside me, holding my hand. A surprising warmth radiated from his slender, bony palm. Dad? I was lying on a sofa. I craned my neck to look around, still trying to process what was going on. There were several monitors set up around the room. Where are we?
In my laboratory. You were infected with the virus. But I've given you the antiviral. You don't have anything to worry about.
He squeezed my hand even more tightly. That hurts.
Ah, right. Sorry.
He eased up the pressure on my hand. But I didn't let go entirely. This feels so strange, I muttered, staring up at the ceiling. I wonder why.
What does?
Having you hold my hand.
I used to hold your hand like this when we'd go on walks together, when you were little. I doubt you remember that, though.
I considered. It was true. I didn't have any clear memory of him holding my hand like this. And yet, the touch of my father's palm felt distantly familiar. Gently, I squeezed back. It's been a while, hasn't it? I said. I mean, me looking you in the eye while I'm talking to you.
It's only because I didn't look you in the eye.
He hung his head.
I'm so sorry.
He said.
Please forgive me. I never meant to hurt you like I did.
Wait, hold on. I was taken aback. I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean hurt me?
Back on that rainy day,
He told me about the day I'd run away from home. About how he'd known where I had gone, but hadn't gone to find me. And how he'd given into his anger and struck me once I came back home. When he finished, he hung his head some more, once more.
I'm so sorry. I've been such a terrible father.
I cracked an impish smile. Oh yeah, I guess that did happen. He frowned. You know, I said, I'd totally forgotten about that. Until you mentioned it just now, I mean.
No, I can't believe that.
He replied.
The way I hurt you,
He sounded so disappointed in himself. Dad, it's not like I can let myself dwell on each and every detail of my childhood. I mean, in the 19 or so years I've been alive, I've been hurt in lots of different ways. a child experienced so much more than what my parents knew. That was what growing up was all about. It was a happy thing, but also a little bit sad. My dad was visibly grappling with his feelings.
I see.
He said,
I guess you have gone through much pain.
"Well, yeah. But there have been more things that were fun and happy.
I see.
It's the sum of all those things that have made me who I am today. So please, don't worry so much about the past."
I see.
Dad, you keep saying "I see." Stop it.
Sorry. It's just... This is also difficult to say.
He was trying and failing to hold back his tears. I wasn't quite sure what those tears were for, but I felt a prickle of embarrassment. Shyly, I looked away and my eyes alighted on one of the monitors. The screen showed a view from outside the lab. "Who were those people?" I asked, pointing. My dad looked, and his eyes widened in shock. 3 people with guns were facing off with one another. I recognized one of them. Tateno, the man with the cane. "Why are those 2 pointing guns at your—" Oh, that's him.
That's you. Oh, never mind. Why are those 2 pointing guns at your friend?
His voice was shaking. "My friend? What do you mean?"
The one you met when we went to the Middle East. You know, Konoe?
He switched the monitor to show a different camera angle. A close-up of the young woman's face appeared on screen. I was at a loss for words. That certainly wasn't Konoe. It was the girl who'd come to tell me that Hitomi was going to be kidnapped. Konoe's friend. It had happened 3 days earlier. While I was on my way home from campus, a girl approached me, telling me she was a friend of Konoe.
"Konoe asked me to pass along a message,"
she said. Then she showed me a video recording. The video quality was quite poor, and the voice indistinct.
Jules.
There's a terrorist who's after the antiviral agent your father is developing.
I listened in shock as the message continued. The terrorist's plan was already in motion, and Hitomi had been infected with a killer virus.
Your father used the antiviral to save Hitomi. But the terrorists planned it on that. I'll spare you the details, but there's a way to extract the antiviral from Hitomi's blood. Stealing the drug from the laboratory directly is too problematic. The terrorist intends to get it directly from your sister. Hitomi is certain to be kidnapped sometime in the next few days. And so I have something to ask you. I'd like you to get kidnapped in her place. since you're twins, it should be possible for you to trade places without the kidnappers realizing it. I gave the girl who's passing along this message a necklace outfitted with a small GPS beacon. Make sure you wear the necklace. Switch it on, and it'll allow me to keep tabs on your location. I promise I'll come and rescue you. Please help me. This is the only way we can keep the antiviral and Hitomi safe.
The video ended, and the girl handed me a necklace with an ornate pendant and showed me the hidden switch on the back. Kanon's coming to Japan? I asked.
She's already here. She's ready to risk her life for this mission.
Risk her life? I started uneasily. So, this terrorist who's after the antiviral drug, is it Alphard? The girl looked shocked.
You know about Alphard?
Kanon told me that taking down Alphard is her purpose in life. But Alphard has ties to the CIA, so it's hard for Kanon to get any good leads.
That's true. Which reminds me, you should have this.
The girl held out a photograph.
This man is dangerous. Stay away from him. He's an ally of Alphard.
I did my best to burn the man's image into my mind.
All right.
The girl said.
I've passed along everything Kanon wanted me to tell you. What you do next is up to you.
So, wait. What the heck has been going on while I've been asleep? My dad recoiled from the ferocity on my face.
That Kanon girl thought of a way to save you.
He went on to explain the plan to get the antiviral out of the locked-down laboratory. Once again, I stared at the monitor. As I eyed Kanon's friend, another memory from before I'd blacked out drifted to the surface. Suddenly, it dawned on me what this girl was planning. She pretended to be Kanon in order to get into the lab, I said, scowling at the image on the monitor. He looked at the screen and then at my face.
Well then, who in the world is she?
I already had the answer. There was no doubt about it. That girl was Alphard. The instant I realized this, I knew we were in danger. If Alphard managed to infiltrate the lab, there was no way she'd be satisfied with simply getting her hands on the antiviral. She sowed ruin everywhere she went.
Is something wrong?
My dad asked uneasily.
Maria, what is it?
My mind was racing. I spoke my thoughts out loud. She's going to kill you so the drug can't be recreated. No, that's not thorough enough. She's going to destroy this whole facility. But how? Vague possibilities tumbled through my mind, But I couldn't be sure what the terrorist might be planning. I gritted my teeth in frustration.
Don't worry.
He said.
I don't know who that girl is, but right now, she's outside the lab. There's no way she can kill me or plant a bomb in here or anything.
Yeah, I know. I gave a tiny nod, but something gnawed at the back of my mind.
Make sure you wear the necklace.
Hurriedly, I took a hold of the pendant that hung around my neck. As soon as I did, I felt a chill run up my spine. I went back over the details of Alphard's plan as my father had explained it. And then, finally, I understood. I've got it! My dad straightened up.
You've got what?
I need to get out there where those three are.
Don't be absurd!
I have to go! My dad peered closely at my face. Words weren't going to stop me, and as he realized that, his own face stiffened with determination.
Alright. But I'm going with you. I can't let you rush into danger all by yourself.
Thank you, Dad. I tried to get up from the sofa, but I was struck by a wave of vertigo, and my knees buckled.
Are you alright?
He caught me by the arm.
It's probably a side effect of the antiviral. You shouldn't push yourself too much.
I looked up at my father's anxious face and shook my head. Don't worry, I'll be okay. My body was weak with lethargy, my mind trapped in a disorienting haze. Every step was a monumental effort. But I clenched my jaw and forced myself onward, making my way down the laboratory hallway. A whirlwind of anger and sadness spurred me onward. Alphard was masquerading as Konoe. The cruel truth was all too clear. The terrorist would never have been able to get away with the deception if Konoe were still alive. Which means that Konoe must be... I fought to hold back my tears. It was too early to cry just yet. That could wait until after I'd put a stop to Alphard's plan. Using my rage to suppress my sorrow, I shoved open the door in front of me. That isn't Konoe! My voice exploded into the silence of the standoff.
I doubt we're getting better testimony than that.
Stanley said, his gun still at the ready.
There's no talking your way out of things this time.
The expression on Alphard's face didn't change. She stood still, a mannequin without a soul. What did you do to Konoe? I demanded, marching unsteadily toward the terrorist.
Maria, stay back!
My father exclaimed. I ignored him.
Hey, don't get any closer.
Tateno barked. He looked exhausted, on the verge of collapse. Answer me! I cried, still advancing. What happened to Konoe? But still, Alfred said nothing. Stanley, too, began edging toward her.
It doesn't matter what you ask.
He said.
She won't tell you anything.
Bit by bit, he inched closer. He was going to try to take her down.
Let me turn your question around,
Alfred said abruptly.
What do you think?
I paused, confused. What do I think about what?
What do you think happened to Kanan?
The corners of her lips twisted up, shaping a mirthless smile. You killed her, didn't you? My words came out as a whisper.
What was that? I couldn't quite hear you.
You killed Kanan, didn't you? This time I cried out with a biting fury. Alfred snickered. She's provoking me, I thought. Forcing myself to swallow my rage. I couldn't let myself get caught up in Alfred's game, or my anger would spill out of control. Why are you laughing? By force of will, I made my voice firm and steady. Because I'm guessing you weren't expecting me to show up here. Alfred raised an eyebrow, ever so slightly. This thing here. It's a bomb, isn't it? I held out the necklace.
What?
Stanley furrowed his brow.
Of course. Even if we manage to catch you here, you'd still be able to destroy the lab.
Still, the smile remained on Alfred's face. She seemed to enjoy watching the others figure out her intentions. But you can't trigger the bomb with me standing this close to you, can you? I locked eyes with Alfred. Unless you're prepared to sacrifice yourself. She stood like an image of bravery. I stood like an image of bravery. While on the inside, my apprehension threatened to tear me apart. I could feel my heart thudding so furiously that I thought it might explode. Cold sweat trickled down my spine. Only my rage at Kanan's murder kept me from backing down.
Go ahead and blow yourself up. Go ahead and blow yourself up if that's what you want,
she said.
But you'll die with nothing. Your death will mean nothing. But not mine. My death. Oh! No. Okay. Take two.
Go ahead and blow yourself up if that's what you want, I said. But you'll die with nothing. Your death will mean nothing. But not mine. My death will avenge Kanan's. Silence fell outside the laboratory gates. Stanley and Tateno stood frozen, their guns still trained on Alphard. Both men were ready to pull the trigger at the slightest provocation. Just how long had they been there, staring one another down? The passage of time seemed to slow, seconds drawn into hours. My father swallowed audibly. Finally, Alphard tossed her gun onto the pavement and held up both hands in surrender. Stanley wasted no time springing forward to secure her. He gave her a thorough pat-down from behind. He removed a small device that looked like a detonator from one of her pockets.
On your knees.
Alphard did as she was told.
Good. Now hands behind your head. Try anything funny and I will shoot.
Without a word, Alphard placed her hands on the back of her head, fingers laced together.
What are you playing at?
Stanley growled disdainfully.
Finally realized you can only push your luck so far?
She responded with a faint snicker.
It's not my policy to resist when things are hopeless.
Her tone was detached, her intentions unreadable.
Good. That'll make this easy.
Stanley kept the barrel of his gun pointed at Alphard's head.
This is for my brother.
The words hung in his throat, unspoken. A surge of emotion coursed through him. Just a tiny bit more pressure from his index finger, and he could put a bullet right through Alphard's head. His long journey would finally reach its conclusion. But although he had wished for this moment more than anything, his finger did not move. If he pulled the trigger now, would that truly be the end? His mind reeled at the implications. Tateno watched Stanley closely, eventually letting out a tiny sigh of relief. They were in this together, after all. Now they just needed to be careful not to let down their guard. He kept one eye on Alphard as he went to pick up the gun she'd discarded. But he was too late. The gun was gone. This is for Kanan! I lunged forward, snatching up the gun.
Maria, no!
My dad cried.
What are you thinking?
I ignored my father, taking aim at Alphard's forehead. Kanan's dead. And you're gonna pay. The smoldering rage I'd fought to hold back blazed up with renewed fury.
Maria.
Stanley said calmly.
Put down the gun.
He had nothing but words to stop me. There was no telling what Alphard might do if he took his gun off her.
What will this accomplish?
He asked, keeping his tone as level as possible. My face remained washed with anger.
Maria!
My father pleaded.
Please don't do this.
Tateno took a step forward.
Go on, hand me the gun.
He said. Stay back! My arm trembled as I aimed the gun. Everyone stood frozen, not even daring to breathe. The slightest wrong move might bring disaster. The silence roared.
I don't care.
Alphard sneered.
If you want to shoot, then shoot. You do want to avenge Konoe, don't you?
Yes. Yes, I do. I tightened my grip on the gun. Memories of my friend drifted through my mind. To me, born in peace, meeting Konoe had been like touching a world beyond my own. A far more complicated world. Konoe had blood on her hands from the time she was a little girl. A walking contradiction of cruelty and childishness. And yet, she had lived her life according to her own unshakable beliefs. Meeting her had made me think hard about my own identity. What did it mean to be Japanese? No, that wasn't the question. What did it mean to be Maria Osawa? That was the crux of it all. We had been able to find common ground, despite differing ideals, because both of us possessed an unshakable sense of self. The tense equilibrium came crashing down as I let out a shout. This is for Konoe! I pulled the trigger, but my shot went wide, shattering the window of a nearby car. A sudden gunshot caught Stanley off guard. Alphard didn't miss her opening. She rolled swiftly across the pavement, drawing the small pistol she'd hidden in an ankle holster. I hastily tried to aim for a second shot. Dad! He collapsed at my feet. Dad! My father went limp. Stanley dived at Alphard. He grabbed hold of her right wrist, the one clutching the gun, and slammed her head down hard against the pavement. She made no attempt to resist. In a moment, he had subdued her.
Maria. You're not hurt, are you?
My father croaked feebly as I gathered him up in my arms. I'm fine. But Dad, your blood was gushing through his shirt. I pressed my hand against the wound, but the bleeding wouldn't stop.
Look, just hurry. Get here as fast as you can.
Tateno was on his cell phone, calling for an ambulance.
I know there's a traffic jam. Figure something out. Please.
His voice was ragged with desperation. Dad, hang in there. Large tears streamed from my eyes.
So this is what it's like.
My father lay with his head in my lap, struggling to rasp out his words.
My body just reacted before I had any time to think. I finally understand what a virus must feel like.
His eyes were hollow.
I never told you and Hitomi, did I? About what started my fascination with virus research.
Dad. Try not to talk right now. I squeezed my father's hand. Almost imperceptibly, he squeezed back.
It probably isn't an interesting story,
He said.
but I'd like for you both to hear it anyway.
I know. And we will. After this, I promise we will. My words brought a contented smile to his face.
Glad. So glad.
It's alright, just don't talk right now.
This time, at least, I was there for you.
He slowly shut his eyes. Dad? I said. But my father didn't answer. Dad. Dad, don't die! You can't die! The sound of ambulance sirens wailed in the distance. I clutched my father's hand, trying to make my grip firm and reassuring. Just as his had been back for me, inside the laboratory. Please, don't die. I repeated the words inwardly over and over and over. A black car of foreign make arrived at the laboratory and pulled up to the curb. Stanley's superior, Gordon, emerged from the back. A few of his men followed and promptly placed Alphard in handcuffs.
Well done.
Gordon said. Stanley gave him a slight nod.
I'll be taking Alphard back to headquarters. You can finish up here.
Understood, sir.
Gordon shoved Alphard into the back seat and slid in alongside her, and the car drove off.
Who was that just now?
Tateno asked Stanley.
Our boss. Sorry, but we'll be taking Alphard into custody.
You will, huh?
Tateno frowned, but decided not to press the point. The ambulance arrived at last, and my dad was loaded inside. I remained at his side, still weeping, still softly calling out to him. He could sense me there, though my voice sounded awfully far away.
Keep going.
Okay. Is this the end then?
Should I just read it? Should I just read it?
I think so.
Is this the end? I think the rest is
He was vaguely aware that he was dying, but he was not afraid. At the far end of a hazy tunnel, he could still see me.
why she had grown. She had grown so very much.
If he were an organism that multiplied by dividing itself, he would die knowing that he had left his best selves behind. He had only one wish now. That Hitomi and I would go on to lead happy lives. His vision was growing steadily more dim. Tiny motes of light flickered and wavered faintly before his eyes. It looked a lot like the very first time he had ever peered through a microscope. And that was enough for him. Unexpectedly, my cell phone rang in Stanley's pocket. He'd meant to give it back to me, but the ambulance had already departed. The phone continued to ring for some time, but eventually fell into a death-like silence.
I held my breath. I could no longer feel the seconds ticking by. The numbers on the display were changing more and more slowly. Still, I watched in fear. Two seconds. It was impossible not to fixate on the countdown. 2 seconds. Seconds. 2. Konoe and I continued to stare at the timer. 2. It had stopped. Timer actually stopped. We did it! I dropped down to my knees with a cry of triumph. The rest of Shibuya Scramble burst into cheers.
You're one reckless guy, know that?
Konoe held out his hand. I grinned up at him. That makes it two of us. The two clasped hands friendly. Our handshake conveying more than any words could have.
Gee.
Suzune came rushing over.
You did it, man.
I knew you could do it.
We both bumped fists. Ah, it wasn't just me, I said. Could have never done it without you guys' help. Suzune smiled bashfully. Hey, Suzune. Take care of SOS for me.
You got it.
Suzune looked me squarely in my eyes. I gave a little nod, and we solemnly bumped fists once again. And suddenly, there was a blinding flash. I spun around to see Chiaki standing there, beaming happily, her digital camera ready for another shot.
Hey everyone, gather up.
Minoikawa called out to me and my pals.
You guys are the heroes of Shibuya.
Photo time, everyone!
Chiaki said.
Get ready!
The young men struck a pose together. Wait, her too! Oh. Minoikawa ushered Hitomi over to stand with me. Hitomi? I stared at her shyly. It was all thanks to Hitomi that I'd been able to do what I have done. Keeping Shibuya safe. Keeping my promise to Suzune. Hitomi. 1 second. Okay. Suzune. Hitomi had been my inspiration for it all. There were so many things I wanted to say, but I couldn't get the right words out.
Achi.
Hitomi's cheeks were damp with tears.
Hey now, little lady.
Minoikawa called.
No crying now. Come on, show us a smile.
He struck a goofy pose beside Chiaki. At last, the smile returned to Hitomi's face. He really is the best. Hitomi looked at me in confusion. Your smile, I said. It's the best. I don't care what anyone else says. I spoke so earnestly that Hitomi couldn't help but smile even more.
Okay, here we go, people! Get your best faces on!
At Minoikawa's signal, everyone let out a joyous victory cry.
Come on, guys.
Suzune shouted.
Let's lift Achi up where everyone can see him.
The members of SOS let out another roar. Huh? No, you guys don't gotta do that. Guys, hey, cut it out!
Too bad.
But I had already been swallowed up by the enthusiastic throng. There in the middle of the scramble, I was being hailed as a hero. Konoe looked on with a satisfied smile. What we had achieved together was nothing less than a miracle. It had taken a lot of luck and more than a few coincidences for us to stop the bomb.
Coincidences?
Konoe muttered to himself. No, that wasn't right. This was something different altogether. Fate. That's what it was. And not just one person's fate. The destinies of several people had collided, gathering momentum until coincidence became inevitability, and Shibuya was saved. Raucous crowd tossed me high into the air again and again. As a plainclothes detective, Konoe would probably never be showered in adulation quite like that. Well, that was alright. A detective's duty was to ensure the safety of the people. He didn't put his life on the line so that he could be a hero. Just seeing all those smiles was good enough for him. Konoe only needed the approval of one person, and that was Rumi.
Rumi, hope she managed to get out of Shibuya okay.
Suddenly worried, Konoe put out his cell phone.
I think I'm supposed to be narrating here. There are a whole bunch of things I wanted to tell her. I couldn't share the whole story. Police rules wouldn't allow it, but I wanted to let her know as much as I could. That the kidnapping case had been resolved safely, for instance. That I learned about the tortured past of the detective I so admired. That my partner was going to pull through. That I managed to finally talk to her father. That he put his life on the line. That I put my life on the line to save Shibuya from danger. Rumi would listen quietly to the very end. And then, I thought, I knew just what she would say. Short and sweet. In that gentle voice of hers.
Good job.
Alphard and me sat in the backseat as the car sped along the highway. Here, I tossed the handcuff key onto the seat beside me.
What happened down at the Scramble?
Alphard asked, picking up the key and unlocking her cuffs. Leland Palmer was arrested by the Japanese police. And the Tachi case was defused, apparently. Still, Palmer shouldn't pose a problem once we get into CIA custody.
I see. Much obliged.
Really got yourself back into a corner though, didn't you? I said.
Yeah. I was only able to accomplish half of what I intended.
Half. Alphard produced a vial from her pocket. It was filled with red liquid. Is that Hitomi's blood? I asked.
Indeed. I managed to acquire the antiviral.
But when? I peered at her in bewilderment.
When I blew up the minivan.
In the dim light of the vehicle, Alfred's eyes shone darkly, like those of a wounded animal. Extracting blood for Hitomi while she was unconscious had been a simpler matter. Saving the girl's life had been much more than just a means of ensuring her trust. Alfred had been looking for the right moment to carry out the extraction. Total secrecy was essential. When it became public knowledge that the drug existed, as some of it had been stolen, the value of the UA virus would have plummeted. Our primary objective here was to destroy the research facility. Still, getting our hands on the antivirus is better than nothing. Well done as always, Alphard. My hard expression softened, but Alphard was in no mood to return my smile. But Maria Asala had remained inside the facility. Her plan would have succeeded. Everything else up to that point had gone off without a hitch. The one thing Alphard had anticipated was Maria bringing the bomb outside. She had injected Maria with a knockout drug back at Endo's electronics that should have kept her from moving around for a while until she regained consciousness. In any case, she would not have expected the girl to just march into the midst of an armed standoff. She had been certain that Maria would never leave the lab. She had misjudged how strong the girl's feelings for Konoe were. Maria's body had been put into a state of torpor. There were a bunch of people pointing guns at each other. Still, she had been undeterred. Alphard's plan had hinged on Maria's relationship with Konoe, and, ironically, that same relationship had made the plan fall apart. It was true that she accomplished half of her goals, but Alphard still couldn't shake her sense of failure. She softly bit her lips as she gazed out through the car window. The bright windows of a few buildings shone out in the midst of the otherwise darkened city.
I cannot believe this was a Wii game.
We're not done yet.
It's actually amazing.
We're not done yet?
Yeah.
Oh,
What?
Jules?
It was almost 1 o'clock. Takuya Kazama watched the orderly collect his meal tray, waiting for the door to fully close behind him before slipping out of bed. He dragged the folding chair closer to the window and sat down. Then he meticulously scanned the entire length of the vast central courtyard outside. From up here on the second floor, he had a great view of the whole open space. The hospital building was shaped like a boxy U, enclosing a promenade that wove its way between the trees. Where pajama-clad patients and visitors from their families were enjoying the first day of sunshine to come along in a while. Not yet. She still isn't here.
I guess I do.
I seem to be doing okay today. If she does show in the courtyard, I'll sneak out for a walk myself. And I'll make sure I go and talk to her. Hey, what's your name? No, I can't just up and ask her like that. Maybe I should tell her my name first. I'm Takuya. Who are you? Was this silly to tell her what my name is when she hasn't even asked? So, what's wrong with you? No, she's been here at least as long as I have. Whatever it is, can't be anything small. So yeah, no way can I open with that. That comes much later. Much later. Nice weather we're having. Now, what am I, 90 years old? I need to say something hip. You come here all the time, huh? No, that's terrible. I'll also say, I've been watching you. She'll think I'm a stalker. And yeah, you go ahead.
In the midst of his internal debate, Takuya happened to cast his gaze back out into the courtyard. And there she was, standing right under his window. I wore a white cardigan over her pajamas. I wore a white cardigan over my pajamas, standing with my head tilted back and my eyes closed, basking in the light of the sun. The angle finally gave him a good look at my face. The wind caught my evenly cropped bangs, blowing them back to expose the delicate curve of my forehead. I looked deeply happy as I stood, breathing, a gentle smile across my face.
I felt as though she was smiling at me, and it brought tightness in my chest. I always thought it would make me impossibly happy or that angelic smile ever turned my way. So why did it hurt so much instead? I saw her open her eyes back up, and I hurriedly back away from the window. She saw me. Or did she? No, there's no way she could see and hear with that glare. But what does it even matter? I was gonna talk to her anyway. Right? So, go on, get out there. Fighting my nerves, I moved back to the windowsill. She was gone. Where did she disappear to? I scrambled out of the room and rushed to the elevator. Be alright. My muscles aren't too stiff. Today's a good day. Kyle.
Takuya? Takuya, where are you going?
I recognized the voice of a familiar nurse calling out from behind me, but I ignored her and jammed my thumb on the close button. Once I was down the first floor, I made my way to the courtyard exit, slipped on some sandals, and headed outside. I pretended to be out for a walk as I wandered in search of the girl. I went to the length of the courtyard and back to the spot under my window without finding her. That's odd. Usually she stay out here a lot longer. Jules?
You look a little pale. Are you alright?
Asked the voice. Huh? I turned and saw the girl, sitting on a nearby bench. I took a half step back in surprise. Somehow I missed her in the shadow of the trees.
I'm sorry.
She said.
Did I startle you?
No, not really.
You look like you're in pain. Should I go get a doctor?
She was right. I wasn't used to so much walking. I'll be alright. I just need to rest for a bit, I said. I believe I managed to answer. Only my words hadn't been coming out all that well. The girl stood up and reached a hand out to me, but I couldn't bring myself to take it. Instead, I simply sat down on a bench. Not too close to her, but not too far away either. Heart suddenly began pounding. I couldn't tell if it was because of my exhaustion or because I was so close to her.
So, you're the boy from that room up there, right?
She pointed to my window on the second floor. I had to stifle a gasp.
A little earlier, we made eye contact, didn't we?
Didn't we? I mumbled, averting my gaze. I was just spacing out. I didn't notice.
I've seen you up there from time to time. You look lonely. Are you not able to leave your room much?
She didn't notice I'm always looking at her. Good. Yeah, I get tired real easy.
I see. I'm not able to get very much exercise myself. But they told me that when I'm feeling well enough for it, I should get up and walk around a bit so my leg muscles don't get weak.
You have a problem with your legs?
No, with my heart. And they say the legs are like a second heart. They play an important part in blood circulation. So if my leg muscles get too weak, it's bad for my health. You know how when a racehorse breaks a leg when it winds up dying? I guess it's sort of like that.
The tone was cheerful enough, as if she talked about this all the time. But I thought it filled me with sadness. So, I began.
Yes?
Do you mind if I ask you your name? As I fumbled the words out, the girl broke into a beaming smile. That wonderful smile, the one that up until now I had only seen from afar so many times.
Suzune Endo. The Suzune is written with the characters for bell and sound. So like the chiming of bells.
Suzune, the chiming of bells. Suzune understood her soothing voice perfectly. Suzune Endo. Suzune Endo. I repeat the name to myself over and over.
What's your name?
Takuya. Takuya Kazama.
Takuya Kazama, huh? That's a pretty cool name. I guess it means tough guy or something.
I guess it means tough guy or something. Not that I live up to that. The truth was that I was always embarrassed to tell strangers my name.
I don't know about that. You seem pretty cool to me, Takuya. So, how old are you?
My heart sank. Only kids I'd be told they were cool. 14. What about you, Suzune? From afar, I didn't realize how tall she was. Taller than me and probably older.
I'm 17.
I thought the difference would be less. 3 whole years apart? My heart sank further. Now she seemed even more unattainable. As I tried to think of a way to nonchalantly ask Suzune where her room was, I heard the slap of sandals approaching. No Panda, try kid voice.
Can you hear that, or is it too loud?
That looks good. A boy came running up. He was young, maybe in first grade or so.
Hi, Ken. Long time no see.
This is your brother? I asked.
No, he's in the room next to mine.
Who's this?
Boy clung possessively to Suze's knee as he peered at me.
This is Takuya Kazama. He's a patient like us.
Huh? Hey, I got some candy. Wanna eat it?
The boy tugged at Suze's hand.
Oh, yeah? Alright then, Takuya. I'll see you later.
Yeah, later. Later? Later when? Am I actually going to get to see her again? As I watched the young boy drag Suzune back inside, I felt a bitter surge of resentment. I thought that finally getting a chance to talk to her would make me feel a lot better. Instead, I felt worse than I had back when all I could do was stare at her through the window. The sunlight garden suddenly struck me as cold and desolate, so I trudged back inside, my muscles faintly shuddering with each step. made my way back towards the elevator to find a head nurse waiting in the corridor, glaring at me. I kept my head down and tried to slip on past her, but she snapped at me as I drew near. Nurse Carl. Kyle. Kyle? Did we lose Kyle? Nurse Jules.
What were you talking about with Miss Endo? Oh,
Huh? I blushed at the idea that she's been watching me. Us. I didn't realize she was being serious. Nurse Kyle?
You shouldn't get too close to that girl.
Why not? I asked.
She may not look it, but she's seriously ill. Neither of you has the ability to fend off a major infection, and we certainly don't want you catching anything.
The nurse looked away as she spoke, rattling off the words. But they let her go outside like that, right?
Yes, that's true. But Takuya, why in the world did you go out? Did the doctor tell you to go for a walk?
No, but I thought that since I was feeling pretty well and all...
You expect me to believe that? You're shaking! Come on, let's get you back to bed.
The nurse ushered me into the elevator, escorted me back to my room. I was actually quite exhausted, and so I quietly got back to bed. Nurse? I called out to her as she was leaving.
Yes?
Suzune, Miss Endo, I mean. She's got a bad heart, doesn't she?
Did she tell you that?
For whatever reason, the head nurse seemed quite shocked that Suzune had shared that information. Yeah. What is she sick with?
It's something very serious. That's why you ought to leave her alone.
But... she's gonna get better, right? I regretted the question the instant I asked for it. Nurse's grim expression was not answer enough. Sweet and cheerful girl like that had incurable illness? For a while, I couldn't even believe it. After the nurse had left, I stared at the closed door in a daze. From that day on, I kept my vigilant watch on the courtyard. Sneaking out of the room whenever I caught sight of Suzune. Bit by bit, the two of us began talking more. Sometimes we'd come on 2 days in a row. Sometimes I would see her for nearly a week at a time. Other times I would wander the hospital corridors in search of a room, only to be intercepted and sent back to my own room by the head nurse. Suzune was quite popular, most especially the old men, old women, and young children in the hospital all seemed devoted to her, their faces lighting up whenever she was around. She was kind enough to listen to all their grumblings or trifling conversations. I was equal parts impressed and baffled by her ability to relate to them. I could never put up with that sort of thing. More than anything, though, her popularity was frustrating. I had much more time alone with her if all these people weren't always around. I felt I was the last in long line of supplicants waiting for her to grace me with a few moments of time. After she learned about my condition, perhaps out of some strange form of camaraderie, Suzune seemed to develop more of an interest in me.
Wilson's disease? I've never heard of it. Is it serious?
Suzune's concerns seemed entirely genuine. For a brief moment, I was almost happy about my rare and grave condition. I couldn't say that, of course, and so I just nodded. Yeah, if you look, you can kind of see my eyes have turned kind of brown. I pointed out one of my eyes to indicate the pale brown ring in my cornea.
Is that still you, or?
Oh, yeah. It's something you're born with, where copper builds up inside your body. I get really tired super easily, and when the doctors checked me out, it turned out I had hepatitis caused by Wilson's disease. My liver was already seriously damaged, and the only thing that would fix it is a transplant. That's why I'm in here. But finding a compatible donor has been hard.
I guess we're in the same boat.
You need a transplant too, Suzune?
Yeah. I'm still waiting. I have what's called dilated cardiomyopathy. They've tried other forms of treatment, like limiting food and water intake for long periods, putting in an implanted defibrillator, and other things. But it looks like a transplant is the only real solution.
Dilated cardiomyopathy? Defibrillator? What are those? I didn't understand all the vocabulary, but it sounded like her condition was even worse than my own.
But the biggest problem,
Suzune continued,
is that there just aren't a lot of heart donors in Japan. And moreover...
Abruptly, she fell silent. A look of loneliness crossed her face, and she turned back to me with a reassuring smile.
You'll find a match soon, Takuya. Everything will be fine.
And you'll find one too, Suzune. Isn't that right? I felt like something was caught in my throat. It was hard to get the words out.
Yeah. If I'm really lucky.
Suzune hesitated before continuing.
But even then, I doubt I'll be able to get the surgery.
Her tone was so matter of fact. Why not? I asked.
My family doesn't have much money, so we can't afford to get surgery overseas. But it's alright. I don't really like the idea of being saved by getting some poor brain-dead person's heart. I mean, that's what it comes down to, you know? Unless someone else dies, I can't be saved. If I had to think of some family out there grieving over their loss, I wouldn't be able to be happy, even if it did mean I got better.
I never thought about that. Just imagining part of some stranger's body getting put inside my own was more than scary enough. Still, if I had to choose between that and death, well, it wasn't even a contest. But you don't get a transplant then.
Everybody dies. That's just how it is. For some of us, it just happens earlier than for others.
You can't just give up like that, I cried. I won't survive unless I get someone's liver. But if I'm lucky enough to actually get one, I'll be happy about it. The doctor told me that people only give their organs on death because they want to. They want to save lives. Suzune appeared flustered.
I'm sorry. I know that's the way I should be thinking about it. I'm sure that things will go well for you, Takuya, and that they'll find a donor for you. And you shouldn't hesitate to get that surgery. By getting better, you'll be honoring the dead in a way. But
She let out a sigh.
that's not going to happen for me.
Why not?
My blood type is really unique. I don't think a compatible donor is ever going to turn up.
A unique blood type? I stammered a little as I asked. Me like RH negative? Suzune shook her head.
You've probably never heard of it. It's called Bombay. They say only a few dozen people have it in all of Japan. One of the handful of people would have to happen to go brain dead. Then they'd need to get that person here before their heart stopped. And then the surgery itself would need to go well enough. That's too many coincidences to hope for, you know?
I was too surprised to say anything at all.
I'm not about to live what's left of my life expecting that I'll win the lottery like that.
Suzune said.
It's better to focus as best I can on what I can do.
On what you can do? What do you mean?
There are a lot of patients here like you and me who have been here for a very long time. Most of them are senior citizens whose families rarely, if ever, come to see them. And I kind of enjoy listening to older people talk. They have all got plenty of interesting stories to tell. But more importantly, it brings smiles to their faces, having someone who will listen to them. They tell me that for a little while, it's like they're young again, like their pain has gone away. And seeing them smile, it makes me happy too. I want to make friends with as many people as possible, to learn about as many people as I can. I don't have time to wallow in my own misfortune.
assumed that, unlike myself, Suzune was just as cheerful as she seemed to be because she had hoped that she would get better. I've been suffering through my own illness. I thought day in and day out about how unlucky I was to have been born with it. Though I hated to admit it, I had long since discarded any hope that they'll find a donor and give me a successful transplant. Until I met Suzune, I lived every day cursing my fate. Our circumstances were so similar, so why were we so different? Suzune was like an angel. I felt like a miserable excuse for a human being.
I have to spend a lot of time resting in bed,
Suzune said.
so I read a lot. Novels, essays. Sometimes I try reading more difficult books on philosophy. I don't always understand a lot of it, but sometimes it just clicks, you know. And I read high school textbooks sometimes too. Oh, well, except for math. I've given up on that.
I didn't like reading. And I was in my room, I just watched TV. A lot of time, the only shows that were on were garbage. I knew they were garbage while I was watching them, but there wasn't anything else that caught my interest. My motivation to study was non-existent. I suddenly didn't have any textbooks in my room. It was like I was going to go on and live a normal life, a full life, get a normal job and have a normal family. So, what point was there in studying? That's what I always thought, at least. Am I just wrong? Suzune, your turn.
Halfway through my dinner, I found that I'd lost my appetite. My mood was bleak. Why did I get so high and mighty with Takuya like that? All I ever do is pretend to be the person I wish I was. In reality, all I do is worry about just when this heart of mine is going to stop. I know it's normal to be afraid of dying. I practice smiling for my father and my brother. I don't want them to see my fear. I was happy and a little bit shocked when I realized that my fake smiles actually worked. My smiles might have been forced, but the ones I got from those old men and old women and all the little kids, those were real.
Keep going.
Hello, young lady.
Oh.
Oh,
It's the line before.
oh, sorry.
You're good.
Oh, hey, Suzune.
Hello, young lady. Everyone's always so happy to see me. At some point, I'd realized that I was no longer able to tell if my own smile was fake or not. I wasn't lying when I said that the smiles on other people's faces brought me joy. But every now and then, the loneliness returned. I wish I could tell someone how scared I was. Finally let myself shed the tears I held in for so long. But I'd never be able to do that to either my father or my brother. I didn't want them worrying about me. I didn't want them worrying about me any more than they already did. My pulse grew erratic. My intense heartbeat hammered like the hoofbeats of a horse at full gallop. A sensation I'd known since childhood. Then I found an intensely painful electrical shock course through me. My implanted defibrillator had activated. After suffering through the pain for about 10 seconds, I felt my heartbeat stabilize. I'm alright. My heart is still pumping. But despite my relief, it was impossible to think about how my time was drawing even closer. If you're in pain, just say so. It's okay to admit it. With a start, I looked up and saw a nurse in my doorway. She hadn't even noticed it. I hadn't even noticed the door opening. Was it time to have my temperature taken again? I hurriedly put on my mask of a smile. Oh no, I'm okay. It's all calmed down now.
Kyle.
Your illness isn't the problem. Hiding it is. If you need a little comfort, just ask.
I was at a loss for words. It was dark outside, and with the lights in my room turned off, I couldn't get a good look at the nurse's face. The woman was tall and slender, and had a rather nice build. Was there a nurse like that on the staff was there a nurse like that on staff in this ward? I couldn't remember. What are you talking about? I felt my smile warp as I struggled to conceal a sudden upwelling of sorrow.
You are facing your condition like an adult, but from your father's perspective, you're still his little girl. It's completely natural for your family to worry about you.
This person knows who I am. I'm not sure how, but she knows everything. I let my mask fall. I looked down at my hands, pulled tightly into fists, and I let my tears come. strong person. But I can't do it. Everyone tells me what a strong and cheerful girl I am. But it's all a lie. The words spilled out as my emotions came rushing into the surface. I'm afraid of dying. I'm afraid of getting surgery. I'm even afraid to go on living. What scares me more than anything is when night comes. I'm afraid every time I go to sleep that I might not wake up again. I thought that if I kept pretending I wasn't scared of that eventually I'd be able to fool myself. But that didn't happen. I'm the only one I can't fool.
I think you're plenty strong.
Huh?
Everyone's afraid of death. That's why they try their hardest to look away from it. What they try to forget during the day-to-day that it's coming. But you face it every day. Face it head-on. You're a stronger girl than you think. Everyone else probably underestimates your strength.
The nurse's voice was soft, smooth and soft. Her words flowed over me, washing away my darker emotions.
That's why you shouldn't push yourself so hard. If you keep trying to face all your fears by yourself, then one day you might break. It's okay to let it out every now and then. Vent your frustrations. You're fighting so hard every day. There's nothing wrong with asking for a little help.
The nurse sat down on the bed and began to gently stroke my hair.
If you're ever afraid to go to sleep, call for me, anytime. I'm always here for you. I'll watch until you wake up in the morning. That should help, yes?
I couldn't ask you that, is what I had meant to say. But the comforting warmth that enveloped me stopped the words, carrying me gently towards sleep. It was a feeling I'd nearly forgotten. Like something from very long ago. But from when exactly? When I woke the next morning, the nurse was gone. But I did not despair. If I ever needed her, the nurse would be there for me again. Of that I was sure.
Good morning, Miss Endo.
The nurse who came to take my temperature was the usual one. not the one who'd been there in the night. Good morning. A natural smile came to my face. I felt deeply grateful that I'd gotten to live to see another day.